Welcome to the SBIDER Careers Podcast.
With Laura Guzman
and Ed Hill.
We are discussing the career trajectories of SBIDER researchers and also those who carry out important work that enables and supports the research being conducted.
It's great to be joined today by Suki Soggi, the Project Manager Administrator of SBIDER.
Join us for this episode as we discuss job, role and day-to-day tasks of project managers and administrators in research.
Hi Suki, thanks for joining us today.
Hi Larry, hi Ed.
Could you describe to our listeners your main commitments and duties firstly as a project manager?
Yeah, as a project manager, so I work on different projects. I'm not full-time on them. And they all have their different roles. So for one project, I'm basically just doing the finance of the role. Another project, because mostly it's based abroad in Africa, I'm the main contact for the funder and then looking after the postdocs here. And then for the third project, I think it's more involved because I've got more responsibility on that project. And it's pretty much everything from dealing with the collaborators, the funders, organising events, the money side of it, procurement. So it varies, but I think each project has different calls of duty, and I just have to be responsive to each of them.
Could you also describe what are your main tasks as the administrator of SBIDER?
So main tasks, I think my job, again, varies vastly from caretaker of the building to council to everyone in the building, basically. So it's I mean, if it was written on paper, it would be, just ordering stationery, procurement, health and safety, risk assessments. But every day is different. Obviously, we've just had COVID, so the role totally changed to compliance, making sure that we're all COVID safe. There's a lot of liaising with the other departments, obviously, because in our building we have the three departments, computer science and stats, and dealing with estates. So it's evolved. I mean, we came into this building new, so it was managing the move to the building, now to managing how the building was working, so it's attending all the soft landing meetings. And now it's just, after COVID, it's just the settling down and bringing people back to work in a safe environment, basically, and trying to get back to normal. But hopefully, I'd say on a normal day, we haven't seen that yet. It will probably be just making sure all the staff in this building have what they want. So new starters are comfortable. The academics have everything, the support they need in terms of procurement, ordering stuff, and they can just do their job easily, basically. So at their disposal, at what they need, really.
Is there a particular part of the job description that you think listeners would be surprised by?
I don't know. It's one of those things, when you stop doing it, people realise that it's not happening now. But I couldn't tell you I do the same thing every single day. It's different. It depends on what people's demands are. And, we've had normal demands, or we've had really, really strange jobs. So, a normal part of the role will be making sure, the station is ordered, the kitchen's filled up. The coffee machine was, I think, the best part of the job, where, we had a long, almost conference-like meetings about what the coffee machine should be. So, you kind of have that part of it, but then you have the serious part of it where you have new recruiters and dealing with the serious part of the visas and then the type of visas are making sure that we're all compliant and stuff like that as well. So it changes in demands. We have a massive staff turnover in this department as well. So it just evolves and turns, and it's never the same.
Thank you for that overview. I think that just really gives a clear picture for how you have this job title, but within that it encompasses so many different tasks and duties, and without any of these, the whole basically group centre just would not function. So it's such a vitally important contributor to making anything happen within the group. So
certainly keeps me on my toes.
Could you tell us about your kind of path to actually becoming or entering into this project manager and administrator type role, and then specifically within SBIDER? So, for example, what were the kind of key stages where you perhaps developed an interest in this type of work?
So, before I got this role, this role started temporarily. I was an operations manager at BCU. So, working in education, I was just looking for my next role. In education, basically, and this came up as a interim role through Unitemps, and I kind of applied for it, which I only took it on for 2 months, but it kind of lasted. But I had the skill set from before. I had the experience of working in a university environment. I knew the systems, and I sort of had, I suppose, with my previous role, had the knowledge of how to work with academics, which is always important. It's difficult. It's different to work in academia than it is working on a normal administration role. So I think when you apply for these kind of roles, I think people like to know that you've had the experience of working with academics and in academia.
That makes sense. With having a joint role with different responsibilities in each, how have you felt combining those multiple roles?
I think it's, I've not felt it's been two separate roles, because I work in a research environment, so everybody's working on a research project. So although I'm assigned to certain projects and I'm responsible for the reporting and the finance and dealing with the funder directly, while everybody else is working on the project, they have the same kind of queries or the issues. So while I'm not responsible directly for dealing with them, if an academic would come to me and say, look, we've got this on the project, can you put, we need a report, nobody, maths or whatever can do it. I have the facilities to do that. So it kind of merges. So it all feels like one in a sense, because the academics for the projects are in SBIDER and everybody in SBIDER is working on a project. So they're kind of, the asks are the same. So it feels like all one big role. And I've never thought that I'm not doing that because that's not my project, or I'm not doing that. It just feels like it needs doing. Let's just get it done.
That's interesting insight, and to get that view into how one can go about, say, processing kind of these multiple duties to basically ensure they're accomplished for the benefit of the overall group. So no, that's great. And it's an item I think you've touched upon in your previous responses, but I think the fact that, let's say, the research group comprises people from different departments in different backgrounds, the researchers at different career stages. And so would you be able to kind of describe your experiences of working with researchers that have these very kind of diverse range of personalities?
I think it's been fun and interesting. So we have... I think this is one role that I came into. I've seen such a diverse range of people, not only personalities, but backgrounds and sort of experience. And it's, I enjoy meeting people anyway and working with them. But it's, I think it puts that extra excitement into the role where everybody wants something done differently. And I've actually really, really enjoyed it. We have obviously different departments that we have to work with, and everybody works a bit different, and you have your challenges with it. But I think it's interesting basically how people are, but it's also I think I can learn a lot from people as well, the way they are, and it helps me to develop better skills in dealing with people, becoming more resilient, and finding new ways of working with these people. So it's always you can't change people the way they are, but you can adapt to their style, and everybody's different in that. So in that aspect, I think it's good both ways. And for me, it's like people express themselves differently sometimes, and it's understanding that I might be different. I'm not academic in any way. I'll probably have a more corporate side to myself, in which I feel like everything needs to be done properly. But academia sometimes is a little bit more relaxed to the way I deal with things. So yeah, it's finding that balance basically.
And academia is very heterogeneous in itself as well. A lot of different backgrounds, especially in SBIDER.
Yeah. And I think that's fantastic. With me, I've got the most strangest of names, Sukhwinder Soggi, and I used to get picked on at school with my name, and I used to be always embarrassed of my name because it was such a broad Indian name, and I used to be so embarrassed of it. But coming here and hearing the different names that some of them I can't even pronounce, and I don't even know where they're from, and purely to my ignorance, but I feel like it's okay to have a name like that now.
Is there a skill set that you have developed that maybe you didn't know you would need it?
I think flexibility, basically. I have to really, as a normal job, if you had an administrator, you'd kind of come in and you'd have a pile of work to do, and at the end of the day, you kind of finish that. But I think in this role, it's just not like that. I have to be at people's needs, basically, and it's managing those roles. So I could have at the moment, I'm trying to organise an event for one project, which I have collaborators, partners from that project coming at me from all angles. But at the same time, I have finance responsibilities on a different project, and then have the day-to-day of like making sure this building's okay and everybody's okay here. And then added on to that, I have the issue of dealing with different departments on, trying to get stuff done, because I can't do everything myself, and I'm pulling all that together. So it is being flexible and a bit patient sometimes. And with me, it's like, I'm like, this needs doing, let's get it done this way. And I think when you're having to deal with multiple people, multiple departments, it's not always done that. So it's just basically finding that bit of like, okay, step back and have a little bit of sort of recess in thinking, okay, it'll be done in its time, kind of thing. So yeah, flexibility, I think it's something, it's something definitely I've learned in this role.
And with that skill of bringing flexibility, and it's important trying to encourage the positive working relationship between the researchers and the research support staff, as without that, ultimately, the research wouldn't occur. So it's, as a collective team, everyone has to contribute and play their part. Do you have a piece of advice to those who are interested in working kind of a research academic role that would then help promote this positive relationship from your perspective on the academic support staff side?
I think it's just communication with the academics. I think academics are like, they have their project and they're so sort of tunnel vision in like, we want this, and there's pressures from the funder and stuff. But I think if it's all communicated, I think they forget that they communicate in their group with their fellow academics and the postdocs. But with the support staff, if some of the information, I don't need all the coding and the data analysis information, please. But certainly just an overview of what the vision is in terms of what direction you're going for, what your outcomes are, and it's communicated certainly we can support with that. Any administrator would be happy to support with that, and then give you the correct way of following a process, because obviously we have rules, compliance, regulations that we have to follow, and sometimes the academics think, I just want this, I've got the money, can't do it, and it's just not that way. And so I think communication would be important, and say, look, this is what we want to accomplish, what's the best way to do it, rather than saying, can you just go and do this? And you think, okay, I can do this for you, but then it's going to come back and say, the computer says no, kind of thing. So that kind of communication, I think, is really key for academics to have, and they'll find that their job is a lot easier and things will be a lot smoother. We have to follow, obviously, university guidelines, and it just protects us all. So yeah, the communication is massive, I think.
I guess from our own experiences and interactions, I think where I've basically come to you with questions, it's like, would this be possible? And then it's after back and forth, it's like working out, actually, given the regulations and guidelines, what is feasible and what isn't, and through that communication process, helping to make it run more smoothly. And then it means for future instances, then we do know it's like, this is now the process, and it's basically being enacted pretty much straight away. Yeah, personally for me, it's like, thank you for everything that you do here within the group, as without it, nothing would be achieved, essentially. It's an irreplaceable skill set, and it's great to have you around and involved.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind.
Yeah, thank you for this clarity to also see the other sides of the other perspectives in this project. And sometimes we are all into our projects in our heads, and then it's really hard to leave that on the side and see it from a different perspective. So I think this is very valuable.
Thank you again, Suki, and thank you everyone for listening.